Right, welcome back to the next episode and the next installment of the Dope Stroke podcast show. Today, it's me that's introducing this particular podcast, Bubs, because our friend and very fond person that we're very fond of, Chris Trott, is not on this podcast right now, but might be joining us later if we're lucky. However, this is a pretty good opportunity for us to actually get a word in edgeways, and I'm pretty sure with the 47% now being removed, which is Trottie's main voice, it's down to the likes of me and you to keep this podcast alive. So, how are you?
I'm good, mate, but I feel like we should just take 2 to 3 seconds of silence.
Enjoy the moment. Enjoy the moment.
How nice is that? I'm good, mate. I mean, he might jump in, mightn't he? He's busy at the moment doing something. I'm not sure what he's doing, but he said he might try and jump in. So if he does, then yeah, it'd be good. But big week this week, major week, which for anybody who doesn't know, basically means that between now and Thursday, if you're on social media, you're just going to get bombarded with people dropping balls into the rough from 3 feet. Going, look how thick the rough is.
Yeah, I actually think another one might be dropping balls on the green and seeing how far it rolls off the green.
Yeah, that's another good one.
Another classic. Yeah.
Yeah, you see one, don't you? You're like, oh my god, the rough's really thick, and then you kind of seen it, but it doesn't stop them posting it.
No. I guess all these tour players need to get some sort of content, right? And that's the kind of low-hanging fruit that they're chasing, I suppose.
Yeah. So I mean, we are going to jump into that because it's obviously a big topic. But do you know what I saw? You might not have seen this because you've been busy working in your office. This came up today. I want to get your thoughts on this because this is right up your bag, being the kind of background that you've got. Bryson has led the way. Tommy Fleetwood has started a YouTube channel.
Yeah, see, I actually caught wind of this previously, actually. I want to say January, I caught wind that he might be doing something like this. And I'll be honest, I'm quite happy with it because I like Fleetwood. I think it could be quite good. And is DeChambeau the beginning of the trend where we start to see tour players creating content? I definitely think so because it is the future of the space anyway. It's not going to be for everybody. I get that. But I'm really pleased that Fleetwood has his own YouTube channel. Where do you sit on the camp?
Oh yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Great.
I think it's. I actually think when you get to that level of like a Fleetwood, a Bryson, maybe someone like a Fleetwood because he's a little bit different, but I think it's quite brave because I remember when I started my channel, and it was I kind of knew that I could post videos and no one was going to see them. Right, so it was a kind of like I'll just post some videos.
Yeah,
I'll figure it out as I go. But he knows that when he posts that video, it's going to get seen. Like maybe not Bryson numbers, but he's going to get, I'm guessing, a couple of 100,000. So it's quite brave to go out of your comfort zone and do something that's a little bit different. But I'm for it. I think I remember you saying to me a long time ago how the future of these, we'll call them athletes because they are athletes, might change, and it's not enough now just to play golf and wear a logo. You've got to be engaging your audience, and what better way than to kind of show some behind the scenes stuff. I've not watched the video. Yeah. I think he's done a pre-major prep video on kind of how he's prepping. I'm guessing it's in Dubai where he lives.
Yeah, got it. Well, I think there's a phrase for this, isn't there? I think that's been bandied around for a couple of years. Is it? I'm going to get this wrong, I think, but is it ATHLUENCER? ATH and then ATHLUENCER, something like that. And that's kind of the title to say that, yeah, you're an athlete and then you've become more of an influencer later on, or content creator, however people like to describe themselves. So, yeah, but overall, I think it's good. I quite like the fact that it's Fleetwood as well because he's got a bit of personality. He's got, a few USPs about him that I think make him stand out. He's not a vanilla golfer, and I think that's good. But I also think that they have a head start. So to your point, it's quite brave to go out there and put content out and you've never really done it before. I suppose in his case, he's got the dough behind him to get that editing team in place and capture that content. So he's probably off to a bit more of a head start with all due respect. But you've still got to be good on camera. And that's, I do appreciate that is a skill that develops over time. It's not something that everyone is necessarily born with straight out the gate. So let's see. I'm excited for it, though.
Yeah. Just from, you'd be coming at this from a business standpoint, and you've got that background. But I'm looking at it, and I guess there's other people looking at it as well, thinking, he's obviously at the level where he's trying to win big tournaments, he's trying to win majors, he's trying to win FedExes and Race to Dubai's. He's got sponsorship from Nike and TaylorMade. So clearly money is not an issue. So what do you think would be the driving force behind this to do something which is, on top of what's probably already a pretty busy schedule with traveling the world, playing golf, practicing, he's got family. Obviously you don't know, but what do you think is the kind of goal behind it?
Well, I'd always say it comes down to money, even though they've got a lot of it. There's everybody always wants more money. I mean, you only have to look back at the live situation with all those players diving off into live. You can't tell me that any of those guys were skint. So it always does boil down to money as part of the decision. I don't think it's the only decision, by the way. I think it's just part of it. But I do think that guys like Fleetwood have a bit more of a legacy play here. There's a bit more of a long-term strategy with all of these things. You look at Justin Rose and what he's been able to do in the ladies game, and a few other initiatives he's involved in. All of these things adds to your long-term reputation long after you retire from the elite level of golf. There is a bigger play at stake, whether you're cementing your position within the Ryder Cup and the Ryder Cup infrastructure and business organization, or, whatever you're trying to do with the RNA and other governing bodies. I do think there's a lot more decision-making that goes into actually arriving at the conclusion to go, I'm going to set up a YouTube channel, because there has to be a bigger reason. And money is part of it, but it's only a part of it. It's not all of it. That'd be my view anyway.
It's interesting, isn't it? Interesting to see who else, takes it up. And there's obviously quite a few of them do stuff on socials, like Instagram and stuff. But obviously YouTube's probably a bit of a bigger commitment. Like you say, you need a team who's going to film it and edit it. But yeah, it's interesting.
I think the only thing that I'll probably say about the Fleetwood one, which obviously I have no knowledge as to what's going on behind the scenes in terms of his execution plan for all of this. But if he's making his launch video related to the US Open, which is this week, that's always a bit risky, right? Because what happens if you go out and a couple of snowmen later and you're at the tournament by Friday afternoon? There's a bit of a risk to that. Also, is it good to make sure you got a bank of sort of 12 or 15 pieces of content? One, so that you can get enough time to practice how you are on camera, and two, to make sure you have enough relevant content should things go south the week of the tournament, whatever it might be. I just wonder what the prep work is about around what he's trying to build, rather than just being impulsively week by week or piece by piece bit of content,
Yeah. It's interesting. It'd be interesting to see how much content he does put out, whether he's going to go with like a bit of a schedule, or I guess Bryson just puts out as and when. But I certainly think it'd be interesting to fast forward 5-10 years and see who's still doing it, who's joined the YouTube gang. So right, let's bring it back. US Open. Have you been to Oakmont?
I've not been to Oakmont. I've been to a few US Opens, yes, but not to Oakmont.
It doesn't sound fun, does it?
It doesn't sound fun. I was having a quick look at this the other day, by the way. So they reckon the greens themselves are going to get beyond 15 on the stimp meter. 15 on the stimp meter. That's crazy. Who's gonna? I just don't understand how. I mean, there's obviously going to be a winner at the end of the week, but it clearly can't be low scoring. It just can't be.
But of all the majors, the US Open, I feel like over the last 20 years has been the one where it's gone a little bit too far. There's been a couple of events, maybe a couple of choices of course. Chambers Bay was one. There was another one, I can't remember the other one was, where the course wasn't great. I remember one that Retief Husum won, and the greens were like crazy, and they were running on between groups to spray them with water.
I remember that,
It does feel like they get it so close to the limit. And the look, I'm not sure how it's going to play out because it hasn't even started yet, but these are the events where the best golfers in the world are coming together. And I don't mind the course being a big talking point, but I don't want the course to be the storyline throughout the week.
Yeah.
I just don't want that to happen.
I think you want the golf course to be fair, and you want it to be penal. Like if you hit a bad shot, you want to be penalized. As a spectator, that's what you want to see. You want to see you've hit a bad shot, and you should kind of suffer for that. But equally, if you hit a great shot, you want to see players be rewarded for that as well.
Yeah.
I'm thinking back a few weeks ago. I can't remember the tournament now, and apologies for this in advance, but it was a ladies tournament. I want to say it was a ladies elite amateur tournament. and there was one of the players. She was on the green, looked to be maybe probably a 15 to 20 foot putt, and she missed the putt by an inch, and the ball almost came to rest an inch or two from the hole and rolled back to her feet. And this happened several times on the same green, if you recall. I don't want to watch golf like that. That's not fair. I don't want that. I'm all for, and I don't mind quick greens either, but at least make it, relevant to the skill level that the players are actually stroking the ball on the short stuff, rather than, you just missed it by an inch and now you're putting from off the green. Like, that's not fair.
I know exactly what you mean. And the reason I saw that video, because I'm not sure if you realised, but it had obviously been shared a few times. And I think when it was posted, the caption was something like, "What do you do here?" And Mickelson commented.
What did he say?
He's put, "I've got one option." Because you remember it was the US Open where he hit the ball.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
As he was going back to, he just walked up and smacked it.
He did, didn't he? Yeah.
Completely. So he just went in the comments. He was like, the caption was like, "What do you do here?" And he was like, "I've got an idea."
Yeah,
I can't remember where that was, but I remember him just kind of like the ball was coming back to him. So for anyone not sure, it was a major. He'd hit like a putt or a chip. The ball had stopped. It was rolling back towards him, and he just walked up and smacked it off the green. Took whatever penalty was coming his way. So
yeah, let's be honest, we've all done that in a monthly medal at some point or another, haven't we?
Yeah. Oh, here he is.
Oh no, 47% is coming back in with his chicken.
Oh dear, what is that in the background? That looks like a nice. That looks like a nice little venue, wherever that is.
Right.
Well, this is obviously a riveting. This is obviously a riveting podcast, isn't it, lads? You two boring the life out of people, are you?
Well, mate, we're just delighted that we've been able to actually speak. So so far so good. But now that you've returned, I guess Bubs, we might as well just go back on mute, shouldn't we?
Well, I think we should definitely get Lloyd to look at the first part of this podcast and see what the ratings were like, and if it was good,
I
don't know where we go from here.
That's it. You're out. Lost your seat.
The show has just begun here, boys. The show's just begun.
Right, for those that are listening to this, Trottie has got a chicken. There's a name for that chicken. You must be. Are you on the TaylorMade tour truck? Where are you?
No, but the TaylorMade tour truck does have a chicken. But I happened to be in a grocery store yesterday and saw that there was a $6 chicken on sale, so I grabbed my own one. Grabbed my own chicken.
So, Trottie, am I right in thinking you're at Oakmont this week?
Not yet. I'm at Twin Oaks. I've just been filming some stuff this morning out on the 18th hole here. Travis, the pro, absolute diamond of a bloke, allowed me to come and film. I was doing a launch monitor test, and anyone that knows anything about launch monitors, I needed flat, I needed no real wind ideally, and I needed real golf balls. So I've done this test, Bubsy, 3 times. This is the 3rd time I've done it now. And I just said to Trav here, I said, mate, any chance I can use 18 at Twin Oaks? Because it's a par 5, hooks around the corner. And he set me up on the ladies' tee, which is more my flow. And we were able to get this thing done. So it's a really, really good video. It's going to come out in a couple of weeks. I'm really happy with how it went. There's a bit of drizzle in the air, which, again, keeping it serious for a minute here, changes the numbers a bit. So it was interesting to see how the launch monitors do. Slight issue for Daryl as he's now on the call, so I'm going to put this out there. I just want to say I really like my Golf Galaxy partnership, but I happened to pick up the wrong hat this morning. So if we can clear that up somehow, because obviously how this hat has got into the rotation with no Golf Galaxy on the side is beyond me. But I'm 25 minutes from home, which is why I'm doing it from the snack bar here at Twin Oaks. We've got lovely barmaid working over there, and snacks are behind me. I might raid that coffee in a bit. The chicken's here, and the lads are like diving in the clubhouse.
All right. Well, I think for the purpose of the podcast, we should probably give Golf Galaxy a shout out. And Golf Galaxy we'll say it several times just to make sure we say Golf Galaxy.
Fantastic.
But also, it's a podcast, so no one even noticed your hat. But
True.
each
I
their
got
own.
myself in the shit there, didn't I?
You did. Well done, mate. Yeah, it's that 47%, worth of conversation that you got going. You thought you'd throw a spanner in the works. Well freaking done.
Can I ask what what the purpose was of trying to eliminate variables like wind and slope, when the variable of where you hit it on the face and the club that you deliver is the biggest variable of all.
Because, mate, I mean, in all fairness, I'm used as, and as I should be, it's a compliment to my history in the game, but I'm used as an official voice when it comes for launch monitors. And I have a deep relationship with a lot of launch monitor companies.
Official voice. So when it says path -3, that's you, is it?
No, you twat. Meaning, like, I've worked with launch monitors for over 25 years, and I just feel like I wanted to do this video I'm trying to be serious here, Christopher. I just wanted to do this video justice, and I wanted it to be a fair playing field. And it's hard in California. It's not like Birmingham. There's not these open fields where you can go and bang balls. You've got to be very particular. And the beautiful people at Twin Oaks were fantastic. So I'm very appreciative of Travis and the boys and Marv the chicken. And we've just performed a great video. It's going to be a belter. It's going to be a good video.
Just quickly, I know we're sort of not talking what we're meant to be talking about variables and testing things. You know, TaylorMade HQ, have they got a hitting robot there?
They do, yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever used that to see, like, I mean, they use that just for clubs and stuff, or do you get to use it? I'm just interested.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I was like, mate, I am a robot. No, I've never filmed with it. It's an R&D product. So they use it a lot for golf ball testing, to be fair.
Yeah.
And then I think they have an off-site place, which, again, I've never been to, but all R&D stuff. And then they do tons of golf ball testing.
Those things, can they program it to basically deliver any speed, any contact point?
I believe you can,
I
believe you can.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's an element that comes down to how you put the club into the device, because it's obviously on a pivot point. But to give you a certain launch and spin and swing at a certain speed, I mean, as long as it's within the parameters of what the machine can do, then yes, they can. But then that's not real life. And again, that comes back to how do you test? What are the pros and cons of a launch monitor? What should you be looking for if you're buying one? There's a lot of data on some of these launch monitors. Do you need all those data points? You've got to ask yourself that question. And then when it comes to actually testing it, you need to know that you're getting apples for apples and pears for pears. So hence why I had 3 different venues, mate. And there's a big thing here, and maybe you've got an opinion on this as a golf coach, but I must have hit 15 balls this morning in this test. Being on a golf hole, I think, is a big advantage when you are doing testing. And it made me realize, if you're going to have a golf lesson, or if you can do it on an actual golf hole, so you feel mentally that there is an issue for a golf shot. If you hook it, if you slice it, you're behind a tree, or you're left out of bounds, or you're down pipe down the middle. Like, even the good shots carry more value when you're actually on a tee box and you're hitting them down an actual outline fairway. I like that in an outfield. And again, Daryl and I, we can save this, but we've been talking a lot about outfields and outfield designs and mapping out an outfield for teaching and for fitting, that it's out there for you. So whether there's a mound on the right side, or whether there's a carry distance at whatever your carry distance is, I think it's a big game changer, because I think we can get into a world when we practice where we just bomb ball, and it just is crap. It's not.
You need risk, don't you? You need a feeling of risk.
You do.
Yeah.
Consequence.
I mean, for years when I coach putting, I mean, I've worked with Put Out for a few years, and I think their products are great. But I talk of levels. So one of the things I think is really key for putting is start line. And if I work with a player who can't start it online, I'll say, look, this is a skill that you've got to develop. And like, here's a gate, the gate gives you a tolerance. Here's, if you can buy yourself a mat, you can practice at home. And then 2 to 3 weeks later, they might come back and see me and say, hey, I've been working at home, and I can now start the ball online. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, you can't. You've got to do it on the putting green with break. Then you've got to do it on the course. Then you've got to do it on the course under pressure. All you've done is level 1. There's levels to this thing. And that's so key in getting to where you want to get to. But just because you can do it at home doesn't automatically mean you're going to do it on the 18th hole with 3 feet of break with pressure.
Yeah, 100%. And then it's being able to put yourself in that mental situation where you can do it in the moment. I like that too. I also use a putting start line device. I've tried the Putt Out ones. I'm on another one at the moment, been on it for a long time. And it helps me with putter selection. You see, the tour players do it every week, mate. Like, they maybe don't do it when they're going to the first tee on a Thursday, but they're constantly working on start lines. That then led me down to putter choices, I don't really see a potting coach, but certainly methods and models that I use. If you can't hit the gates or hit the start lines, then you are absolutely pony, which brings you to somewhere where you can't afford to be absolutely pony. And I know that you lads have probably covered it all because I'm diving in a little late on this podcastamondo. But Oakmont, talk to me, lads. Tell me something filthy. Have you even got to it yet?
Yeah, no, we started to get through a little bit on the speed of it. I've actually got something I want to raise though, boys, because this is always a bone of contention for me. And
is it your height?
Well, there is that, yeah. But charming good looks and the rest of it, to be fair, Bubs, all these things that you haven't got. But it is to do with the longest par 3 in major history. What the fuck? Let's be quite blunt about the F-bomb there. It's 289 yards.
I've played it.
8th hole, par 3.
Do you know I've played that golf course?
Well, we know now, and I'm sure for the next 30 minutes, that's all you're going to talk about.
47%.
But if you could talk about the 8th. Yeah, there we go. You've already started interrupting me. So I want to know about that hole because I think, personally, I'm not happy about it. It's ridiculous. No hole should be that long. That's a par 3.
I've got 2 points here that I am extremely passionate about, and they're both completely different and opposite.
Is it because I'm short?
No. The first one is I am passionate about the fact that a par 3 should not be that long, right? It just doesn't need to be. I think we touched on it a little bit in another podcast, but it's a little bit of like lazy design. How do we make it difficult? Let's just make it long. So I'm very passionate about the fact that it should not be that long. However, on the flip side, if we go into this week and we say, do you know what? It is too tough. Let's make it a par 4. The same person still wins the event. The same person still comes second. The same person still misses the cut. Instead of being 4 over, they're level par. It makes absolutely zero difference whether it's a par 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. It's just a hole that you have to play and shoot a low score. And that, for me, when they always talk about it's a long par 3, I'm like, all right, play it as a par 4 in your head. Doesn't matter.
Well,
yeah,
par's a number in it. So let's cover that.
It makes no difference.
The next thing that needs to be covered about this hole, though, did I tell you boys I played there? Having played it, the next thing that needs to be covered about this hole is the green is quite generous. And if you compare that green to the second green, where you're going in with a short iron, the second green is difficult, very difficult. And the 8th green is pretty easy. Now, I 3-whacked 8 when I played it and made bogey.
Easy then.
Is
this before you had the anchoring putter or after?
Yeah. It is drivable. I don't know what, but it's a good question, actually. I must have been on arm.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. It is drivable, so you can get there. But you play it as a short par 4. Now, is it one of the best short par 4s in the world? Absolutely not. I think that close to our heart, hole number 10 at the Belfry has to be talked about as one of the best short par 4s. But we are talking about this golf hole, so it's a bone of contention, it's a talking point. But for that golf course, the bit that will be overlooked, every muppet and his dog will go up there with their phones and be like, look at how deep the rough is, and then drop their ball in there and whatever. Fine. But I'm telling you, that golf course, the greens are rapid. And you play another par 3 on the backside, 16, that for me was a tougher par 3 than 8. Like if you miss 16 to the right, it's way tougher. So, and then you play a short par 4 in 17. The end of the world is long of the flag. Obviously, I went long and made double, which was great. Still hurts now. But the point is that golf course, for me, and I played it after the trees came down, instantly went into probably top 4, maybe top 3 if I thought about it. And like, I'm a harsh judger of golf courses, but instantly went in there. Like, and you've got Carnoustie, Turnberry after Trump got it, amazing. Carnoustie because of the history, but this golf course, boys, insane. Now, we had a host who took us there, a guy called Sal, and it was one of maybe the best hosts I've ever had. And the history and the golf course and the winners there, but different level. I mean, I was chatting to name drop here like Doherty about it. He obviously did well at Oakmont when the last US Open was there, or maybe 2 US Opens ago, I can't remember. And he just said it's insanely difficult. But that was the best first tee shot I've hit in a long time. I mean, I crunched this puppy. This was like Bob's crank. That's how hard I hit it down the first. And then I missed the green with the sand iron and had to chip up and make the putt from 5 feet to make par. But what a golf course. I mean, easily a belter. With a highway running through it. You know that? Big highway going through the middle of it.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Darryl, you got to get up with your facts. Palmer was a Pittsburgh guy, so he was up there a lot. And he wasn't, I don't know if he was from there, but he played there a lot. We need to fact check that. Lloyd, fact check that, please, son. But why was Palmer there all the time? Because I know he was. And there's a famous picture of him and Nicholas walking over the highway bridge. It was pretty filth. It was good.
Yeah, I recall that image, actually. So it's just talking about facts here. There's 175 bunkers on that golf course when you played it, Trottie, because for those that are just listening now, Trottie's played the golf course, just so you're aware.
Thanks.
I'm thinking about other golf courses here in the UK, like Royal Lytham and St Anne's got quite a lot of bunkers. I think that's probably quite
tons.
similar, 175-ish bunkers.
2 facts we need Lloyd to check. What's
What's
Lloyd doing this morning?
He's on his holidays. It is 175 bunkers around Oakmont, but when you played there, how much of that really comes into play? How much of a challenge does that really present to these elite golfers that we're expecting to be there this week?
Yeah, it doesn't feel that many traps. Now, look, you hit it in a few traps, but when you play Lytham, I played Lytham too. When you play Lytham, feels like a lot of traps. When you play Oakmont, it doesn't feel like a lot of traps. And Lytham, they're placed so well. And you boys know, undulating fairways and wah. Lytham does a good effort on the traps. Oakmont does a nice effort on the traps, but it doesn't feel. Now, obviously, the main issue of that is we probably played some tees that were a little up because it was an amateur thing and we were playing with a couple of guys. Like the one guy was a great player, the other guy, good player. And then, no, we just didn't play the backs. So maybe if you're a bit further back, the traps come into play a bit more, you know?
I guess with Royal Lytham, though, the bunk, just due to the nature of the land, you're hitting an iron off the tee, for example, but you could still get 100-plus yards of run. You can easily find a trap, whereas from what we're going to expect at Oakmont this week, which is wetter weather, etc., I don't expect us to see a huge amount of run on the fairways because it's going to be a bit more humid, expecting a bit of rain by the looks of things on the Sunday. So I don't quite know what that might mean for the golf course, but it does look like the greens will remain super quick. And as we mentioned earlier, going 15 plus on the stimp meter, it's going to be quite a tough challenge, I think, for a lot of these players on the greens. What are your thoughts on that?
Is that what they're saying? Jesus.
Yeah, that's what I've read. Yeah, I read that this morning.
I'm just curious about what they've done with the golf course because obviously since it was there 2016, they've taken out loads of trees. So if you take out trees on your golf course, it's pretty obvious what you want the defence to be. It's going to be tight fairways, thick rough. Now, we're not sure what they've done with the rough this week, but it seems like the rough is ridiculous, 6-7 inches. If it's long, and it is long, it's going to play 7,400 yards. Is this potentially, I don't know, but is this potentially the first golf course where a Bryson, a Rory can't just bomb it and gouge it on the green? Because Bryson, quite blatantly came out and said when he won his previous US Open, that was his tactic, was just to hit it as far as he could. He didn't care if he missed fairways because he could just get it on the green from the rough. But to me, it just feels like this might be a bit of a tipping point. If there's fairways that are 20 yards wide and the rough is 7 inches and you've got 180 yards to go, is it actually going to potentially favour the slightly shorter straight hitters? I don't know. I'm just asking the question because we haven't really seen a US Open like that in a long time.
So I think Cabrera was 305 off the tee when he won there last time. I think you have to look. Yeah, you have to look at. It's going to be a good winner. If you look at the history of this tournament, it's always good players. I mean, Hogan's won round there. Just to give Lloyd a shout out, and my knowledge, 40 miles to Latrobe from Oakmont, so it was a local track, and 210 bunkers at Lytham. I assume that's Lytham he's talking about, but shows you we've got the research here. Dope Stroke is a legitimate podcast. Let's just cover that. We now Oakmont 210 bunkers. Lloyd is correcting me. We have a producer. We have it all going on. We're bringing this thing together. So anyone out there, shout out to the Dope Stroke crew behind the scenes here.
Oh, and we've got to shout out Golf Galaxy as well. Yeah.
Golf Galaxy. And back to the topic of conversation. I think you look at L's ball. Montgomery was in that playoff, hit it straight, but then so was Lauren Roberts from memory. And I think that you're looking at players that generally drive the golf ball very well. That's definitely going to be a topic I don't personally think you can overpower this thing. It will be interesting, but I think if I look at DJ when he won there, drove the eyes out of it with that M2 driver and was just hitting a lot of pure fairways. Again, the greens are so rapid. You have to miss them in the right place. You have to chip it into the right places, even when you're chipping on it, especially if what McD says they're going to be 15 plus. So I actually think it won't be someone who just launches the thing. I have got the login to the clipped data for you, and it's interesting because this is after the PGA, and I just did an off the tee thing because I actually knew you boys would be talking about this. Now it's after the PGA, but Bryson ranks number 110 shot quality, and the name I was looking for, which I want to throw out to you, and I'm surprised it hadn't been mentioned already, and I think you know who I'm going to say, but it was Aaron Rai. I mean, he's a great driver of the golf ball. Is that a name that we're going to see kicking around here?
Well, basically, that was my thought process. Is it going to be someone like a Bryson who will hit it 320 but miss some fairways, or is it going to be someone like an Aaron who's maybe 290, but he will? I mean, you look at Aaron's driving stats at the Masters; it was incredible. He missed like 4 fairways. Now I know it's an easier driving course, but I'm just intrigued to know where it's going to go because you look at the past tournaments, but it was a very different golf course. There was trees there. Now, like I say, you take out the trees and no one's guessing what your defense is. It's going to be tight fairways, thick rough. So the rough, I think, will be thicker this year than it has been in the last however many US Opens has been there.
His putting,
the one thing that makes me...
I'm getting in there.
47%. Yeah, you go.
His putting is, maybe it is, mate.
49.
His putting is Aaron Rai 100, 50. And Corey Connors drives it 103, and he's 102. Corey Connors is a good shout here, to be fair.
I do think that a lot of the guys that are in that sort of top 20, 25, maybe 30 in the world that are known to be big hitters are pretty straight already. You know, it's not like they're going to be at the bottom of the stats for driving accuracy. You know, thinking of the obvious names like, you know, your Schefflers of the world, Zander's not exactly, you know, short. You know, there's a lot of guys out here that I think are going to be quite long off the tee, but still accurate. And I feel like if the fairways aren't going to run quite as much, if the humidity is what it's meant to be and there's a little bit of waterfall, I just think that, I don't know, I can still see someone longish or long off the tee winning this tournament.
I tell you who you can't look past, although his major record isn't great. I think he's only had 1 top 10. Joaquin Niemann won again last week. I think he had 6 wins on later. I mean, just like I said, I think he's only had 1 top 10 in the majors, so he doesn't seem to be able to do it on that stage. But when you put him in those kind of performances and you're golfing your ball like he is, it's only a matter of time before it comes together. I mean, have you got the clip data on the live players, Trottie?
I'm just looking at what I've got now. I mean, I must have it because your boy Bryson's in it. So let's see if we can search for Niemann.
I'll be honest, I don't know his game that well. I don't know whether he's I know he's pretty long. And he's well. I mean, when you're winning on live, your game's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of them.
I'd like to see what Sam Burns' data looks like as well, because I know obviously finishing runner-up on the weekend, but I just feel like his name's been knocking around quite a lot over the last 2-3 months. Lots of sort of top 20 finishes as well. You know, is he going to be a player that might do quite well around this golf course? You know, I'm not so sure.
Here's a question for you, Daryl, while Trottie's looking at these players. If I gave you £5, stick a bet on Rory, would you be putting that on to win it or miss the cut?
That is a great question.
Yeah, it is
he's openly admitted that he is struggling with his driver at the moment. My gosh, I'm not sure if I can answer that.
I think he'll miss the cut this week.
I don't think he'll miss the cut, but I don't think he'll win.
It's interesting because he played in the Canadian, and obviously he put a new driver in the bag, and for that tournament he gained a shot off the tee.
Did he?
So I think he's, because he said something about the drive, and to me it was like, actually the stats didn't back up what he said. The stats were like, actually you drove it all right, but he's obviously not in the right place, you know, with his Masters win and then what happened at the PGA and the driver, and I mean shooting crazy numbers at the Canadian. I just think he's in a weird space at the moment, and when that golf course is so tough, I just think it can unravel so quickly. I think
what he said, looking at when I was reading it rather than listening to him, it almost interpreted it slightly differently. To me, it almost implied that when he feels like he's absolutely banging with the driver, the knock-on consequences of all of the other shots falls in line. So it almost like he was trying to say it sets the tone for his whole round of golf if he's good off the tee, when he feels good off the tee. Whereas even if he is driving well and he's a little off, then he feels like everything else goes off. That's kind of how I read it. And I can, I'm not sure if I can relate to that necessarily, but I do recognize how one part of your game can definitely have an effect on everything else that goes on afterwards. And for him, for driving being such a dominant part of his game, I can absolutely see how that might affect, his confidence and strategic focus on the golf course.
Here's what we're going to do here, because I get what you're saying. So Niemann, I've only got limited data on it for the obvious reason that he is a live player. He doesn't play a ton. So his driver number looks skewed on here. But when I look at his what to work on Clipped, his driving makes up 10% of his game and his putting makes up 45% of his game. So I don't know if you guys saw the live coverage that it put out of him working with the caddy on the talk they were having to convince him to commit to the putting line. So I actually think Niemann will struggle if the greens are that quick. Obviously, as we learned from Phil Kenyon last week, tremendous episode here at the Dope Stroke podcast. But as we learned from that, quicker the greens, the more break you got to play for. So I think you're going to need to be, and we've got the Lauren Roberts history of Oakmont, which I think is right. Lloyd can fact check that, but I'm pretty sure he did well here. You're looking at, I might be wrong actually, Lloyd, that, but check it. But you're looking at great putters, and I think the fact that his putting is so reliant on that could be an issue. Now, the other name I wanted to check here was Rory, because I think what Daryl is saying is actually right. So if I dive into him, to give you perspective, his off the tee number is 20% for his game. So it's double the importance of what Niemann's saying, backed up with this data that I've got in front of me from Clipped. Again, there's limited stuff I can take here, but if his driver is 20% of his game on what to work on, that then really truly confirms it's so important for the game in terms of how he plays. And then obviously, just to get you going here, 174 traps at Lytham, and Roberts' performance at Oakmont solidified his reputation of one of golf's premier putters. His third round 64 was particularly notable, showcasing his ability to navigate Oakmont's notoriously challenging greens. The moniker Boss of the Moss was coined during the event, highlighting his putting prowess. So clearly,
Tell me you use ChatGPT without telling me you use ChatGPT. Clearly, Lloyd has just gone. That's what he's doing.
Yeah. Work smarter, not harder. Priceless. Brilliant. Talking about, I wonder what your stats are going to say about this then, Trottie, because I always look at a player, Jordan Spieth, who I think is an excellent putter and has been over the years. Does this course, it's got to lend itself nicely to his game if he's that strong on the green, but it makes me wonder, how reliant is he on putting in his own game?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to feel like he's too wayward though, haven't you?
Possibly, but the fact that there's a lot of the trees have been taken out, does that level that part of the game for him a bit more?
Yeah, but, the trees have been taken out. Yeah, it changes the golf course, but also aerates it, which means you can get the pace of those greens up where they need to be. But if we're looking at Spiethy here, and again, maybe this does solidify what you are saying. So off the tee, 26% what to work on. So his game needs 26. He needs to drive it well. Putting is not as important for his game. It's important, I think we understand that that's a what to work on number. Now, his putting is 102. His around the greens is 109. That's shot quality, with 100 being tour average. But the bottom line is Spiethy's going to need to drive it well to unlock his putting ability. That's the way I read that. And I think a golf course like this, I know you're saying it's soft. I just don't know if he's going to have that. I mean, you're going to need to... I think you've got to look at history. You've got to look at Cabrera. 305 off the box. That's good hitting.
I just looked at the last 16 majors, and of those last 16 majors, 9 winners were ranked in the top 10 when they won. plus Bryson and Brooks, who, because they're on live, weren't in top 10, but actually probably were. So you can put those in there. So of the last 16 majors, 11 were in the top 10. Now, I think this golf course, being probably the toughest course they play on the major circuit, means that the winner is going to come from the world top 10. I think you then look at that top 10, you go, well, I don't think Rory can win it because I don't think his game's in the great shape. Someone like Xander was injured, coming back. I don't think he can win it. I just think you're whittling it down to a few players. Bryson, Scotty. So when you look at someone like Spieth, exactly as Trottie says, I think he's too fragile. His game's too fragile. He's trending in the right direction, but he's not got the recent tournaments under his belt to fall back on when the pressure is there. I don't think you can look past the top 10 in the world and say you can eliminate a few of those.
Yeah, I think it's a valid point, and I think it's a nice way to put a bow on this podcast in the sense that we've got a Splash Sports competition coming up here. I think it's $10 wins you 10 G's, is it, McD? Or 10 G's pot?
10 G pot.
It's in the description down below. Things are getting rowdy here at Twin Oaks. There's a group just come through the turn. I think they might be owning the joint. I don't know. It's all good. I mean, I'm in their space, so I get it.
They're talking more than you.
Definitely. So I'm struggling to hear what's going on. So we've got to put bow on this thing. But you got to pick a pool to win, and then you got to get in there. That's the whole reason we do these things. I was skipping a bit of it because I was trying to hear. I like Lauren Roberts. I think everyone's got to have Lauren Roberts. I think I like Cabrera. I like Bryson. I like Brooks. 2 belters. I actually am with Bubsy on the Rory call. I think you got to have Scheffler. And just a quick overview, Aaron Rai, Corey Connors. That's where I'm going. Give me some names, boys. Give me some names and put a bow on this and let's get out of here.
Daz has got to shoot, so I'm going to go quick. I'm going Morikawa.
I'm going Minwoo. Let's go Minwoo. Let him cook.
Jesus
Here we
Christ,
go.
you lads went proper left field. We didn't talk about them the whole podcast, and you give me 2 names.
I like Minwoo. I like it.
Jesus Christ. I mean, I love that I get all this data, and then you just do whatever. All right, stick a bow on it.
Scheffler's going to win anyway. Right, Scheffler, job done. Next tournament.
But is that where the game's at? Get down in these comments. Let us know your thoughts. Give us some feedback on the Dope Stroke podcast. We're bringing it to you. Lads, I know we've all got to shoot. This was a hectic edition. I'm off to Pittsburgh. I'll give you a full match report next week on the podcast.
Love it.
See ya.